Creationists versus paleontologists versus Sharkosaurus. Faith, facts, and fins fly in an epic battle in the Badlands. Sharkosaurus is a Tremors meets Jaws graphic novel blurring the lines between 70s grindhouse cinema and 50s pulp fiction. Illustrated by Tyler Jenkins from Peter Panzerfaust. Available only on Kickstarter.
This is crazy. I haven't even got any guns.
Then let's go on. Hurry.
No. That's what I've been thinking. They're making me run. I've never run from anybody before.
I don't understand any of this.
Some of you were special deputies when we broke this bunch. I need you again. Now.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bishop, and today is, this whole week in Calgary is the Calgary Stampede, world famous-ish.
Yeah.
Big tourist time for us. By the time you hear it, it'll be over, so don't come.
Yeah.
This year. Next year.
Come next year, because by the time you get my whole pre-Stampede thing, it's post. It's done. It's over. But we get lots of cool bands coming in town, and most of them are country, which drives me and Sam nuts.
Yes.
Hey, Huey Lewis, I think, is coming.
Oh, Huey Lewis? Did he bring the news?
Yeah.
Oh,
and the news.
That is awesome.
I'm still not going to go see him.
Trish Coughlin, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
And Sam Stepanenko.
That would be me.
As Calgary veterans, we are, growing up, especially me, born and raised in Calgary, went lots of time as a kid and stuff. But now it's, as an adult, it is usually the time you want to get the fuck out of town.
There's, where
or at
I'm
least
working.
avoid downtown, right?
Yeah.
Avoid downtown.
There's so many people I'm getting out of office messages going like, I'll return on July 18th. There's people who go on vacation specifically at this time of year.
But it's also been good business for words and pictures, so plug.
Nice.
So I won't complain about that because tourists also like comic books.
Yay!
So, actually, I think Sam's going down right after this.
Yes.
Yes, I am going down.
Punishing himself.
I'm being punished.
Well, I don't know. It's great. Gastronomically, the Stampede is quite interesting to experience. Like Scorpion Pizza we were discussing earlier.
Oh, yeah. The Scorpion Pizza. And I don't know if I'm brave enough for that. And you said there was a mealworm one.
Yeah, I'm not brave enough for that.
No, not brave enough for that. I might be brave enough for the Scorpions, honestly. But, boy, I went down a few years ago and I really liked the deep-fried Oreos.
Deep-fried Oreos are pretty damn awesome.
That was something special.
The deep-fried peanut butter cups, I've been told, are also amazing.
It is basically playing fast and loose with your bowels, but
well, it's basically I think when people think of what they're going to put in for like their food every year, they're like, what can we do that will give a person a heart attack immediately after finishing this dish?
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised there are any more ambulance trips from the Stampede. You get a lot of 20-somethings getting drunk during that in the beer gardens down there, paying for overpriced beer when they can just get it super cheap at any local liquor store and have a good old time in the back of their truck.
Yeah, although I have found
and then
the
get
food...
arrested for public drinking.
Yeah,
Does this sound familiar, Jay?
I don't know what you're talking about.
We say nothing. But
that was back in the day.
The food can help you sober up. I did at one point go to the Stampede. I arrived drunk. Went to the Midway, had like a piece of pizza, a corn dog, some mini donuts. I was sober, so sober by the end of all of that.
And if that doesn't sober you up, then you just go on, like a whiplash type of ride, and we'll probably vomit right after, and you'll be good. You'll be good to go for another couple hours. And then, of course, the fireworks at the end of the night.
Yeah. Fireworks are great.
Yeah. That was a great segue from vomit to fireworks. It's kind of
Technicolor vomit to
projectiles.
Projectiles, yeah.
Yeah, like multicolored stuff vomit to multicolored sky vomit.
Or you could just, sit in the grandstand and watch some horses run round and round and round.
Well, the grandstand show is really good too.
And round.
They don't go around that many times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess even they get dizzy.
You will kill the horses if you do it that many times.
Yes, Calgary Stampede has killed their share.
Yeah. That one will be of exhaustion, not just your regular accidents.
yeah. I've never partaken in the grandstand.
It's quite entertaining. It's not too bad.
I don't know.
It.
I'm just not cowboy enough for it. I can't cowboy up.
Yes, last year I went and it was Loverboy was in the end of the grandstand show.
Okay, well that's kind of fun.
That's so much fun watching Mike Reno try to like stay in rhythm.
Oh, or try to hit those notes that he can't anymore.
Yes, yeah, because he was at the Coca-Cola stage about 4 years ago, and followed by Glass Tiger. And you know what?
Oh yeah,
they still can perform. Like as far as the music goes, they were great. But watching Mike Reno try to dance, and I mean, he was pumping his arm, and he was like out of beat. It was like, oh, Mike, Mike. Dude, you need to retire or just not do that anymore because it was bad.
I wonder how much of that is him or how much of that is like, I don't know, any feedback. I don't know. I don't know what that could be, but I don't know. But I just think it's bad with like, when you get older, it's like you can't hit those high notes anymore. It's just the way the human voice works. You're going to lose it.
Unless you're Steven Tyler.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's done or what deal with the devil he made, but he can still do it.
Yes.
Well, this week, you may have been able to tell from our opening, we are talking about High Noon, and despite the fact that we decided to do High Noon and Outland this week, I didn't correlate us doing a Western with the Stampede at all. It was completely unintentional. It just worked out that way.
Yeah.
Fortuitous is the word.
Yes, it just worked out that way.
Or maybe just something in your subconscious.
Yes. I'd never seen High Noon. I don't know if you guys had seen this before. I'd seen a lot of Westerns with my dad, but this is not one of them. So.
This one is really early for me to have sort of sought out. Mm-hmm. I'm more a fan of the mid-60s to mid-70s Westerns.
Those are the ones I saw.
Sergio Leone, the later John Wayne stuff.
Yeah. That was more my era as well with my dad.
Or the Clint Eastwood, the other ones like Pale Rider. The other ones that weren't even spaghetti westerns. That's all my dad
Yeah.
No, interestingly enough, John Wayne was supposed to be in the role that Gary Cooper plays.
Yeah. The story behind the movie is just as interesting as the movie. I really love this movie, by the way.
It's
so
good.
did I. It
So
was really
good.
It's so good. It was nominated for 70 would have been impressive. 7 Academy Awards. It won 4. It lost the Best Director, Best Picture, and Best Screenwriter. For probably more political reasons than anything else, because this is the McCarthyism era, of the 50s, and this is why John Wayne did not do the movie. The screenwriter for the film was blacklisted because he was part of the Communist Party at the time, wouldn't name names, and so he got blacklisted. I mean, this was actually, he had to leave the U.S. to continue his career in the U.K. because his career in the U.S. was over.
Yeah.
And John Wayne wouldn't support, he was supportive of blacklisting, and so they wound up recasting. And this was High Noon, 1952, directed by Fred Zinnemann, who was on the gray list.
Yeah.
I guess he was cooperative.
He was like,
screenplay by Carl Foreman, and he was the blacklisted writer. Now, Fred Zinnemann, he's got a hell of a credit all to himself. From Here to Eternity, Day of the Jackal, and Oklahoma, just to name a few. Screenplay guy, Carl Foreman, was responsible for Bridge on the River Kwai, Guns of Navarone, and of course, High Noon. Starring Gary Cooper, the legendary Gary Cooper, who was probably too old to play this part, but I don't know why they were looking for such old actors, but...
Yeah, no, I was a little surprised. I really thought this was one of his earlier films, but it was actually one of his last films.
Yeah,
he was very late in his career.
In his 50s when he took this, early 50s, when he took this role, but he was playing a character supposed to be in his 30s.
Supposed to be younger.
And he looks so old right off the bat because he's playing against Grace Kelly, who's 21 at the time.
Yeah.
21. Again, legendary Grace Kelly. Thomas Mitchell, Lloyd Bridges, and they're very young.
Lloyd Bridges.
Actually, he plays really young, but he would have been, I think, mid-30s at the time.
I know, and they kept talking about like how he's this young guy, and I'm like, he doesn't look that young.
In comparison to Gary Cooper, he certainly does.
Oh,
True.
Yeah. He looks like a baby.
Do you think that was intentional then?
I don't know.
It's hard to say. I mean, it was the 50s, and they really, really liked their silver screen stars. I mean, you had Clark Gable and all those guys in the 50s who just, even though they were older, were still considered to be sex symbols.
Well, Gary Cooper, like he's an incredible presence throughout this film. Like he may be an older man, but I'm like, I bought that he was a tough lawman.
Yeah. Well, he was going through a little bit of a slump at the time, and boy, did this pick him back up again.
Yeah, it's great performance.
And you know what? I mean, if it hadn't been for him, this movie could have been really, really boring.
Yeah.
It's slow. It's not a fast movie by any means.
No, it really isn't. You think High Noon and big action Western piece, and
that's only the very end.
There's a thrilling ending, but it really is about this tension and quite possibly what might be the last days of this town.
Well, it starts off where like this guy Frank Miller.
Yep,
he's come.
Yeah, Frank Miller's been freed from jail.
Yeah, he got, was it life, but it turned into 5 years. That's apparently Western life, is 5 years. And he's coming in on this train at high noon, and they find this out, 10:50 a.m.?
The movie's almost in real time.
It is almost in real time. It actually, I think, was intended to be in real time. But there was a little editing. I think when Gary Cooper as Marshall Will Kane and Grace Kelly as Amy Fowler Kane were getting married at the beginning. I think it was around 10:35. And there's a little editing, but it's really close to real time, which is part of what makes this work. I think there are some edits out there that try to make it work as close as possible to real time. So,
but I think that's what. Yeah, you're right. What really engages you in the movie is the fact that you do feel that tension all the way through it. It's like you're sort of aware of how long the movie is. Like, okay, it's almost time. It's almost time, and you're seeing him go through all these struggles and to try and get some backup.
Yeah, and they'll add time. Like they'll show shots of clocks, so you know where you are. Yeah, partway, like at certain points, and you're like, he's running out of time. Oh no.
Yeah, and it's like this is his wedding day, but it is a really bad day for Marshall Kane. Like he's supposed to retire. Then tomorrow is when the new sheriff arrives. So they just say, "Hey, we can last without you for one day. That's fine." And as he's about to leave, they find out about Frank Miller and what happens there, and they still try to force him to leave. Like, don't worry about it. We can handle this. And there's definitely a tension about that because Marshall's the one that put him away. The Marshall Kane put him away, and there's another judge in town who's responsible for that decision. So there's definitely some tension about it. 3 of his gang have come into town to meet the train.
Lee Van Cleef, it was so much fun to see him looking so young.
I know,
right? Well, I should get into the rest of these guys.
I got sidetracked.
Let's see who else was in this. Katie Girando, Otto Kruger, Lon Chaney Jr., who ironically was playing an old man and did an incredible job doing it. Yet he was actually younger. I think he was 45 at the time, so he was actually younger than Gary Cooper, but he played a wonderful part in this movie.
Lon Chaney, I think completely underrated. The man was a master. You put some makeup on him, and that's all it took.
Oh, him and his father, but Jesus. Yeah, he put in
both of them.
Really, really great performance for the short time he was in this film. Harry Morgan, who a lot of you might recall from MASH.
I was looking at him for like 5 minutes, and I didn't want to look it up because I was like, "Oh, frick, I know him."
I couldn't pick him out.
Oh, I got him right away.
Did you?
Yeah,
I know he was Sam Fuller, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, no, I learned. Oh shoot, that's Harry Morgan. Yeah. It's got to be Harry Morgan. And then I did go look it up because I knew it was him, but I had to. I didn't think his career went back that far.
It was a couple of line deliveries that finally helped me figure it out when I heard his voice. I'm like, that's the Colonel.
Yeah, and of course Lee Van Cleef, who actually was supposed to be up for a bigger part, and I don't know, there was other casting problems there, and they just gave him a silent part.
Yeah, he had no dialogue.
At all.
Yeah, those 3 guys, it felt like it was supposed to be bigger.
He was actually supposed to be Deputy Marshal Pell, which was Harvey Pell. That was Lloyd Bridges' role. So.
You know what? I have to say that they probably made the right choice there. Lee Van Cleef is so intimidating when he's on a screen. I mean, just when you look at him, you get intimidated, and then you hear his voice, and it's like, yeah, no, I'm afraid of you. Whatever you want, I'll do. Right? Like that's the kind of presence he has when he's on a screen.
Yeah. He does menacing so well.
Although part of me was like, when they finally they keep talking about this big threat of Frank Miller, this one guy. These other 3 are there. We all know it's going to happen, but they haven't done anything illegal to get arrested. So So there's this huge build-up to this monstrous Frank Miller, and then he shows up, and I'm like, I don't know who you are.
I know.
I'm like, it should have been Lee Van Cleef, but somebody I
think it should have been.
It should have been somebody who had that menace on screen without saying a word. Because, I mean, Lee Van Cleef is the very first person you see in this film.
Yeah, I mean, Ian McDonald did a fine job, but I don't know. It seemed to take away from that because I'm like, oh, I don't know who this is.
You're right. I think you needed a bigger name to come off that train and make that impression.
But attracting a big name to a part like that, I don't know, because
it wasn't the style then.
Yeah, you're not going to show up until the last 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah, it wasn't the style then. Nowadays, some people will do it. Mm-hmm. They'll be like, no, if I can make a big entrance and I'm the most memorable part of this film, I'll do it. Because, I mean, technically that character is the most memorable, because they say his name all the time, and he's the one they're waiting for, and it's this whole build-up just for his arrival.
Oh yeah, that's like a Kevin Spacey kind of role, right? Where
that's what I was thinking.
Right, where you hear about the character, but it's not until the last the last half of the final act that you actually get to see them.
Yeah.
And I mean, Spacey's done that a few times.
Yeah. Yes. Frank Miller's Kaiser Soze.
Yes. Or the dude from Seven. I can't remember if he actually had a name in that, but.
Which one? Sorry.
Seven.
Oh, yeah, Seven. No, he was just the guy, I think.
Yeah. Now, this movie was kind of a loosely veiled commentary, I think, on blacklisting at the time of the McCarthyism. And it was specifically of the writer basically saying, he's been hung out to dry and nobody's out there to help him. And that was essentially what happened here. Marshall Cain, he's, had his wedding and he's sent off to have a new life, just running a store in another town.
Yeah.
And finds out about this possible threat to this town, that Frank Miller's coming to the town for him. He knows what this is about. Frank Miller's coming back for vengeance.
Yeah. And that's why they try to get him out of town. It's not because they want to protect him. They want to protect the town. If they figure if he's not there, then Frank Miller will just keep on going.
Yeah, and that's... I don't know. I always think that that's just a hilarious thing where they're like, it's not our job. I'm like, oh, sure. Frank Miller's going to listen to you. Oh, don't shoot me or burn down my house. It's not my job. This is a psycho. They know it's a psycho. And like these idiots are like, oh, as long as like he's not after me. Yeah, but you're in the way.
Yeah.
Like he's going to torture a few people to find out which way the marshal went.
Yeah. It's not a good situation. Some people in the town liked Frank Miller. Business was booming for them, and some people didn't. It's a pros and cons part of the thing, but nobody seems to really want to get involved. When Marshall Cain he leaves, and he has this moral compulsion to go back. And there's also it's this thing he can't really define. He every time somebody tries to explain it, he's like he can't. It's just because God knows it's not like these people deserve it.
But there's also this extra conflict with his wife, Grace Kelly.
Yeah.
She's a Quaker, and Quakers are like no violence under any circumstances. So she's married this man, and he's agreed to give up the marshalling for her. That was a deal that they made. And at the end of the day, he's like, I can't hang them out to dry. And he goes back.
I mean, it's his unfinished business. It's his problem to fix.
Yeah. And he cleaned up that town.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's that
he has that responsibility.
Yeah, there's that one scene with Grace Kelly and the hotel keeper, right, where he says, "No, I don't like him. Business was much better when Frank Miller was around."
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like I like the hotelier and the bar and the saloon keeper were the ones who sort of really
the guy I called a skeevy Paul Schaefer.
Yeah.
That's what the hotel guy looked like. If Paul Schaefer were just slimy as shit.
Yeah. There's some people who are in town or who just want to take advantage of the situation. That barber had something in with the carpenter. It's like, how many coffins we got? 2. We're going to need at least 2 more.
Yeah. Yeah, and like then you can tell there's some of the guys and they're like, I like to hell raise a lot and do whatever I wanted, and as long as the marshal's here, I can't. You could tell some of these guys are just assholes.
Yeah.
And as long as the marshal were there, they knew they couldn't do the shit they wanted to, so that's why they were pissed off.
Yeah.
And then like when he goes to the church trying to ask for help, the woman's like, do you guys remember what it was like when he was here? I couldn't walk down the street in broad daylight. And you're just going to sit around? Like, what are you guys thinking?
Yeah. No,
still nobody got up to help.
And that was such a great scene because there was quite the debate of the pros and cons of it. Well, this is what we pay you for, and
what are we paying for if it's not this? And I'm like, yeah, but I mean, dude,
Yeah.
He did a lot of his job already.
Yeah, he only had one deputy who was a jealous, weird maniac.
Yeah, there's a reason that he's not. Yeah,
You
who
know.
gives up his badge because he can't be marshal.
Yeah, he's sleeping with the marshal's ex.
Yeah. Who I loved.
Yeah, she was
great.
wonderful. Wasn't taking shit from anybody.
Her name in the movie is Helena Ramirez, but I don't know which actress she was.
That was Katie Girardo.
Oh, she's
Girardo.
awesome.
Yeah, she was great.
Business owner, just knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because she was a silent partner in the town store,
Yeah.
and her name was on the saloon.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was heavily involved in the town. It was also Frank Miller's ex. Mm-hmm. So she's got this weird thing with the marshal and Frank Miller, and knowing that, she needs to get the hell out of Dodge too.
Yeah.
And there's this neat discovery with Amy as she's decided to leave, but she's waiting for the next train, which is also the next train.
The noon train is the
noon
train
train.
they're getting on to get out. But
Yeah.
that's the one that Frank Miller's coming in on.
Yeah, so, there's these three guys waiting on the platform, and one of the train ushers, I guess, I don't know what you call them.
Oh,
Conductors.
Conductors says, why don't you
Or
wait
the
at
ticket guy.
Yeah, why don't you wait at the hotel? And this is kind of a time where she discovers a lot about her new
Yeah.
husband and the history of this town. Mm-hmm. And who Helen is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting dramatic moments of misunderstandings, and Lloyd just always figures the most wrongest thing you can think of in a situation.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one he settles on.
Yes.
He's terrible.
Every
person.
time I saw him, Airplane ruined me for Lloyd Bridges. Because every time, this was the whole, like when Frank Miller was coming down, I picked the wrong time to stop drinking whiskey in the 50s. Or, I picked the wrong time to have a fight in a barn. I picked the wrong day to do this. I just expected him to come out with one of those.
Yeah, I was having those moments too, honestly.
Yeah.
Every time I thought like he was going to do something that proved him to be a better person, he just turned out to be a bigger dick.
I know. I had such hopes.
Yeah,
Such hopes.
I did too.
Because I love Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah, because, he goes, when the marshal comes back, he goes to the marshal, and he's kind of upset that there's a new marshal coming into town, and he wasn't chosen to be the new marshal. And it's because of his maturity level, and it shows through most of the movie.
And I think that's why this casting sort of falls a bit off, because Lloyd Bridges is too old to play this immature character. If it was some young, fresh-faced punk, I could get behind the idea that he just doesn't know any better. He just needs to grow up.
Yeah, no, I actually enjoyed seeing that older version of the character, because there are men that age that just don't get it, that never do grow up, right? I mean, when you were to think about it, Frank Miller and his crew are those types of guys.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Right? So, really, Lloyd Bridges' character was more like the guys that were coming to town versus being a marshal. And when the marshal was talking to him about why he didn't recommend him to be marshal, he says, well, if you can't figure it out, then that's why you're not ready.
Yeah.
Right? Right? And because there are men in their 30s who just refuse
They're
to grow up.
never going to grow up. Yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
I guess.
We have friends like that, Jay.
Yeah, we do.
I guess that was my hopefulness, being in this world, I hope the men grow up.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
I guess.
Yeah.
You keep that dream alive.
I don't know. That hope is kind of dying really quickly in life right now.
Well, yeah, when you hang around with two guys who keep crushing your dreams, I'm not surprised.
Oh, no. You guys are you guys are literally some of the most mature men I know.
Oh, dear God, I run a comic book store and a podcast.
Yeah, I know.
That's saying an awful little lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, your emotional maturity is also well and above. So you're
There we
good.
go.
I'll take that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See, we're good guys. Jay single, I'm not, but Jay single.
There we go. How do we contact Invasion of the Remake?
InvasionTheRemake@gmail.com. I'm the one who monitors it most of the time, so it's
Yeah.
okay. Send your love letters.
Awesome.
Unless you're a dude, send them anyway. I at least respect that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not into that.
It's
But,
nice to feel
I'm
loved.
flattered.
It's nice to feel loved.
Okay, so we were talking about Deputy Marshal Harvey Pell and his moral dilemmas, and he's batshit crazy. He doesn't get what he wants. He's basically trying
So he quits.
He's trying to manipulate his way into that role and say, you just leave town, give me the badge, and I'll be the new sheriff. And no, that's not flying with Marshal Kane. So
this is somebody who bluffed and got his bluff called and is pissed about it.
Yeah, he got his bluff called and he quits. He's not gonna, and he's the only deputy in this town apparently. So
there's the one other guy who said he would help out because he thought other people would. Like this guy is me, the optimist in this movie.
Yeah. There's one guy who's like, you can count on me, and it was like, where's everybody else? It's like, well. Comes back a little later on, and there's, you're it, dude. Oh, well, I thought I was signing up for a posse, not a suicide.
Yeah, essentially. And it's almost exactly what he says. Right? Yeah. He's like, I've got a family, and I'm not comfortable doing this. The interesting thing about Pell is like not 5 minutes after he has that temper tantrum with Kane, he then goes and has a temper tantrum with Ramirez as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, has a temper tantrum, and then she basically breaks up with him, throws him out there and then.
Here's the door.
Yep. Goodbye.
Yeah, and she brings up the whole immaturity thing too. She's like, "Yeah, you look like a man, you have broad shoulders, but you're not a man."
Yeah. Oh, it was brutal. It was just, oh man, you got emasculated big time.
Yeah, and she also says like, and then he grabs her and she's like, "No man puts his hands on me unless I want him to."
Yeah.
Lets him have it and kicks him out.
Oh yeah, and he spends most of the rest of the movie in the bar.
Yeah, which at one point, though, like, I could see the sort of a tip with him, like, the one guy comes in to kind of cajole him talking about Miller, and he gets pissed off at that, because he doesn't really want Miller to get killed, but he's just pissed off about what's happening.
Yeah, and every time you think he's going to see the light, he gets back in front of Miller, and
Kane, you mean?
In Kane, yeah. Sorry, he gets in front of Kane, and takes the low path again. He just reverts back to dickhead me guy. When he decides to leave the bar and there's that big fight in the barn between the two. Like, I thought, okay, he's decided to man up and join the marshal in defending the town. No, they just have a fist fight. It's a good fight.
It is a good fight.
It is a good fight. Actually, during that scene, Gary Cooper was really under the weather. From what I was reading, he had a bleeding ulcer. And I think it was Beau Bridges at the time, was just a little boy. He was in the rafters of the barn watching the fight. And when Lloyd is out cold and they throw the water on him, he starts laughing, and they had to shoot the whole thing all over again.
Oh no!
Gary Cooper was a pretty good sport about it, but
I've heard a lot that Gary Cooper was a gentleman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He's probably like, it's a kid. I can't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and if reading out the cast of this movie isn't impressive enough, I mean, no scene in this movie took more than 3 takes. Like, everything was 1 to 3 takes in this movie. That's the consummate professionals that everybody in the set was. It was shot in 4 weeks.
Yeah, it was, and it was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was beautifully shot.
Yeah, and we got to talk a little bit about Tex Ritter's theme music too. That underlying drum music. I really like that.
Almost like
war drums.
Yeah, war drums. It almost sounded like a saw, like when they used to play the saw.
Oh yeah,
it had that that thrummy sound that I just really liked. That
I did too. I was trying to actually find an isolated sound piece for it so I could use it in the podcast, but I couldn't.
Darn.
It was cool, and that won Best Song for the Oscars that year.
Yeah, I can see why. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the country vocal style, but that music, like the music itself, was really compelling.
Yeah. It's not. I don't think it's really like country movie genre, not really country music-ish.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little too big for that.
It was pretty typical of country music in the 50s. I mean, that twangy. I mean, like lyrically and vocally, it was. I mean, that Tex Ritter was pretty well known as a country.
His name's Tex.
Yeah. That's the first thing you hear is that music, and it's like, oh yeah, that's really, really evocative of what I'm expecting.
And the opening credits where you see these guys all meet up to go into town.
You know what I really enjoyed, but kind of annoyed me too, is in the 50s you used to see all the credits all at the beginning of the movie. right? They wanted to make sure you saw every
Oh,
credit
for sure.
in there. I thought that was kind of neat that they used to do that more often than not, instead of at the end like they do now.
Well, the only way people see them now is if they do an after credit sequence.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so many more people are involved in filmmaking now.
It would be halfway through the film.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be a lot of credits to sit through all at once at the beginning of the movie. So I do get it. But,
I do get it. But
yeah.
But it was fun to see that.
Yeah.
Because it's been so long since I watched a movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it says the end, and that's it.
Yeah.
Get up and go, because there's nothing left.
Yeah, you're done.
But yeah, again, pacing on this movie was, I mean, it was good, but it was not an action-packed film.
No, this is
No.
a slow, methodical movie about a really tense hour and a half.
It's a countdown.
Of this man's life. It's a countdown to what
His
could
possible
be
death.
his possible death. Like he is going to friends and neighbors and churches and the bar and everywhere he can to conscript help
And
in
nobody.
defending this town, and everybody's got an excuse. You know, oh, I'm an old man. You know, this is what we pay for. We talked about the church scene. And he's getting more and more desperate as he goes along. And he does turn down one person who's like blind in one eye.
He turns down two, actually.
Turns out a kid too.
Yeah.
Oh, he turns down the kid. That's right. He's too young.
Yeah, he doesn't get offers, but he does. But the ones he gets, he's like, oh, I can't
do
have
this.
you die like this.
Yeah, because he knows that they're not going to make it. You know, either they don't have the experience for it, or they're just not healthy enough to get into a firefight like that.
And then there's some people like the crowd in the bar. They just don't want to.
No, they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't want to help because, you know, some of these guys are kind of on Frank Miller's side because they're the Hellions. They want the good times back.
They want to
wanna
destroy that
cut
town.
loose and not have to follow all those rules.
Yeah.
Right? And the barkeep, I
wanna assault women on the
I love
street.
that scene where he punches out the barkeep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Right, and then when he gets called out on it, he's like, "Yeah, you know what? I was out of line. I'm sorry." Right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? No, he fucking
No.
deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy is betting on you to die. Fuck him.
Yeah, the marshal walks in when they're taking bets on.
He's like, Cage will be. It was like
How
he'll
long
be
he
down.
lasts.
Kane will be done in like 5 minutes after Miller gets here. And he's walking through the door.
I wrote down in my notes, he's behind me, isn't he?
Yeah.
I wish they'd said it, but
Oh, yeah.
that would have just popped you out anyway.
Yeah, it would have because there was no humor in this.
There's no
No.
humor in this movie because it's a tense final moments of this man that could be the final moments of this man.
But what's interesting too is he's in that bar with all those hellions, but he has enough respect that he punches out the bartender, but nobody tries anything.
Yeah.
Like they respect and fear him just enough
Yeah. Yeah, that's just
by
it.
himself.
There's fear, awe, all sorts of things. And some just don't probably want to get involved. It's just keep your head down, keep it low, and don't get involved. And unfortunately, you know, that's the kind of thing the world we live in. More often than not, is people don't want to get involved.
No.
Yeah, and you kind of got the impression all the way through the movie that even though they knew him, he was in some ways a larger-than-life figure in this town.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Well, once you're an authority figure, I think it's hard to make that friendship connection because there's always that, you know, that authority, you know, this guy's always watching what we're doing kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to make personal connections when you're in that level. I don't know if there's any police officers and judges and things out there. You might know what I'm talking about. Write in if you're listening.
Yeah, there we
if you
go.
listen to us, write into the podcast and let us know about those experiences because I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
But I think it's something like that. I think it's a lot harder to make more personal connections at that level.
Yeah, because everybody's sort of on their guard around you. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Like, it's like I don't want to do anything or say anything that's inappropriate or wrong because there could be more severe consequences than if I said it to my buddy who's having a beer next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing about it too is he's always with people, but I mean, I don't know, like when you hit a gray area of some kind, what's he going to do? Like, it's like, am I going to side with the person I see as my friend or the person I see as doing something wrong?
Well, and I mean, in these smaller towns like in
It's a
High
struggle.
Noon, it is, especially, I mean, when we're in the Old West, and I mean, the marshal never gets to stop being the marshal in a town like that.
No.
Right? I mean, nowadays for law enforcement, I mean, you're always a cop, but you're not always on duty like you would be in a small town like that, right? Because you could get woken up in the middle of the night saying, "Sheriff, you got to come."
Yeah, these men are stealing cattle.
Yeah. So yeah, you're never off the clock in a town like that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
Despite the fact that he'd quit that morning,
Yeah.
he was still on the job. He couldn't let that job go, and he almost lost his wife over it.
maybe you'd be the same. Maybe you'd be friends with the doc, because the doc is the same thing in a small town like
Yeah.
that. He's on 24/7.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. I mean, the judge who put Frank Miller away, he's running.
Oh yeah,
Helen, she's running. Mm-hmm. So Amy, she's leaving, not wanting to be anywhere near the violence and not wanting to watch her husband die.
yeah. It was interesting to watch Helen and her like kind of interact with each other, where she finds out.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
past.
she's pretty stubborn through a good portion of the film, Amy, and it takes her a while to, she's learning, and she actually makes a connection with Helen, and they are actually leaving together.
Yeah.
Both love this man. Helen
Yeah.
still loves
Yeah.
him, right? I mean, you get
Yeah.
the feeling that she really does still love him.
Yeah, but has let go. Like she says, if he was my man, I'd stand by
Yeah.
him, but he's not my man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's yours.
Yeah, and that to me, that's also like kind of a mark of respect to Amy. She's like, no, that's your husband.
Yeah,
It would be inappropriate of me
yeah,
to be that woman.
yeah.
So
So
she's a very powerful character. Eh?
yeah, I get the feeling she was just a powerful person in that town, and
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
losing somebody of that caliber in that town is, on the political standpoint of that town, it probably
Yeah.
was pretty. I wouldn't have minded seeing a follow up to that and just seeing where the town was after that.
There
Yeah.
was
There
a
was.
follow-up. Yeah, but
20 years later, right?
20 years
For
later.
TV.
No, there was
There was a High Noon too.
a high noon. There was another movie that featured Helen Ramirez.
Oh,
I can't remember where I read it or what it's called, but there was a feature. It wasn't the same town, but she was in it, and Will Kane makes a brief appearance in it as well.
okay.
Okay, so is it following up her experiences after this, like where she moved
No,
to?
she's another sort of secondary character in another film.
Oh, okay.
Where Will Kane is in it, and I guess he only has like one line in the movie. He just goes "yup," and that's it.
Oh, okay. So it's linking.
It's the
a
same
new
universe.
Movie, yeah, same universe with the
Yeah,
where these characters kind of see each other again and move on.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, I'll have to seek that one out because I really did enjoy it. So
Oh yeah,
You know.
But yeah, I think this is gonna. I think if more people knew she was leaving, because part of it is I don't think Helen isn't telling anybody she's leaving. Nobody's supposed to really know.
yeah,
So she's just leaving. I don't think the town really gets how serious this is. If they knew she was going, they probably would have been like, "Oh yeah, this is going to go bad like real soon."
yeah. Well, she basically offers up her shares to her partner, and he can't afford it all right away.
No, so she says, "Just get me the rest later. I'm leaving now."
Yeah, she takes half, and she's like, "I'll send somebody to collect later on," and that seems to be a good handshake deal between the two of them. So
Yep.
I get the feeling she probably was willing to take the loss.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, no, she wanted out. She
Although-
was she was afraid of Miller.
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
she keeps saying she's not, but she is.
they do allusions about when he was here, what happened to people.
Yeah, I get the feeling there's too much of her past there. Like she just needed to leave anyway. There weren't a lot of good feelings left about this town for her.
No, I mean the man that she still loves has married somebody else, and he's leaving.
Yeah,
And she's just wasting time with this boy.
Yes, and she knows it.
yeah,
Yeah, so no, she's leaving for other reasons, but Miller is definitely was the final straw.
The tipping point.
yeah.
But you kind of got the impression that she kind of ran a lot of that town as a silent partner. I mean, they make a point of saying that she was a silent partner in the one business that she was selling,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the 1800s.
Yeah.
Women businesswomen were probably
Oh, either you had whores in a
Yeah.
brothel, or you didn't have anything.
yeah, like that's just wasn't taken seriously. So as a silent partner,
And if
that
you
makes
married anybody-
certain kind of sense. And man, she
Yeah.
really has a presence on screen in this film, even for a 50s film. She's a very strong female character, and it was good to see in a movie that old. So.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, and I think it has a lot to do with the screenwriter. We talked about him before, and
Yes.
we'll talk. But certainly, I think that he obviously came from that sort of more liberal sensibility that women are as equally as powerful as men, and certainly as competent as men, especially in terms of running things like a business, if not better.
Like he knows, like he knows the type of person who would operate well in that town.
Yeah.
And he's like in that type of scenario, a woman can't really be weak and depend on men to kind of defend her. Like, because there was that guy across the hallway who had a gun.
Yeah.
She had her own protection. She knew what to do.
Yeah, she totally did.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can talk about the final battle, and then we can get into Outland, which is a far more complex movie, but maybe not as good.
Yeah.
I enjoy Outland, but it's a different
preferred
movie.
High Noon.
Yeah. Well, for the simplicity and the tension that High Noon has, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I preferred either of them, but I certainly enjoy both of them.
Yeah, it was. This
for
was
different reasons.
This was a good watch for us this week.
Yes, it was.
I'd say this was one of our more enjoyable weeks where we didn't punish ourselves.
No, this was good. This is a treat.
Okay, so yeah, Marshall
gets
Kane's has basically got to do this alone, and he's at least got home court advantage, right?
Yeah, he knows.
And he knows the terrain, he knows the buildings and everything else, and that train starts
And he knows where they're going to be.
Yeah, he knows where they're going to be and where they're coming from.
Yep.
So he gets in a pretty good position to start out with, although he does get boxed in that barn.
Yeah.
But he's fairly quick on the draw to get one of
the guys right out of the way.
Yeah.
But that helps because then Amy gets off.
Yeah,
train.
she starts hearing the gunfight and as the train's rolling away again, and she actually gets off the train. Like, she has that very last minute decision of, she's right, I need to go stand by my husband. And
she's a Quaker to a point.
Yeah, it took right to the last second ditch effort for her to change her mind.
Yeah.
Boy, I hope she had nothing important in those bags, because she's probably not getting them back.
She's packing light.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think she had. Well, when she bought her ticket, she didn't have anything, and when she was waiting in the hotel, she had
all their
nothing.
luggage was still in the wagon.
Wagon.
Yeah. Well, had to get loaded up at some point.
Well, no, at the end of the film, it's still there.
It's still there. Yeah, they get
Continuity.
into it.
Yeah. Well, I know he was sending her away. There was like this idea that he would come after her, but I think she was either going to come back and get the stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose
It might have been a slight plot hole, but
I can live
negligible.
with it. I can live with it. It's the 50s. Yeah. So there's this pretty. I mean, the whole movie's pretty tense, and it gets to the tense gunfight, and you're just kind of on the edge of your seat watching this play out as there's this cat and mouse game going on, and Marshall
on these quiet streets, because everybody's coward.
Yeah, everybody either went to the bar or is cowering in their homes. Like, no, I kept thinking the whole time, having not seen this movie, that there might be this big scene where everybody shows up at the end of the movie, and you're like, and you got 20, 30 people next to four, and they all run off or something.
Or some farmers
like
outside of town who came in.
I kept waiting for the feel-good moment that they'd come and help, and nope, never happened.
It was a dark movie from start to finish, really.
It never happens. Kane has to handle it himself. He gets winged a little bit, gets bottlenecked into that barn.
Which gets set on fire.
Yeah.
Which gets set on fire.
And he sets all the horses loose, but gets on one to get out.
Yeah, which is ingenious. He kind of leans off to the side of the horse, and as all the horses stampede out of the barn, and uses that as his escape, and manages to just pick the rest of them off.
Yeah, well, no, he doesn't. One of them he does not pick up.
Oh, no, yes, there was... at one point, again, at that point it was Frank Miller and one of his guys.
Yeah, the other goon. Because Van Cleef got caught in the barn.
Yeah, and Amy had gone back to the sheriff's office.
Yeah, she didn't know where else to go.
She didn't know where else to go, exactly. And this guy's like right in front of her at the window.
Yeah, Harv's gun is there.
At her husband.
Yeah, a gun pointed at her husband, so she shoots him in the back.
Yeah.
And I had a quiet little cheer.
I did too.
Me too. I was like,
did too.
Yes.
I was like, ooh, in the back. But yeah, he had it coming.
Yeah.
Like, you dirty
When I
bitch.
thought about it at the time, I was like, yeah, well, he would have done the same thing to anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I had no sympathy for him for getting shot in the back, none whatsoever.
No.
And so there was a quiet little cheer there that it's like, I'm glad somebody backed him up.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
And somebody who's really the most reluctant to because of her faith.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
Well, and Frank Miller grabs her.
he comes in, finds
and,
her.
You know, that forces Kane out from hiding, and it's now just like he's got to take it like a man.
Yeah. This is a gun. This is a shootout now.
Yeah, but Amy's not having no hostage.
No. She's not going to make this easy for him.
No, she gives him this, just distracts him enough that, you know, that little bit of struggle gets away, and it's just enough of a distraction for Kane to draw on him, and that's it.
Takes him right down.
Then the whole town comes running out, you know, because they...
Oh, yay, you
all
did
for
it.
Yeah,
you did it, Will. We knew you would. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, he grabs his badge, and he
Tosses it.
throws it in the dirt and
Gets in
takes
his
off.
wagon and leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. While giving everybody else a bit of stink eye.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
Which I would.
Yeah, what
I'm
he
like,
just went through for this town and his own moral compass. Like, yeah, you guys might not deserve it, but I'm going to defend you anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, my job's done. This is the last thing I had left with this town. That's it. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
out.
at the end, like at the very least, I would have
There's-
said, I was like, I hope your new marshal knows what he's getting himself into.
Yeah.
Because that's what the new marshal's going to have to deal with is you people.
Yeah, and it's such a sour note of an ending for him because, you know, this place that's been home for him for the last while, and yeah, it's kind of a sad parting, but you know, he gets to finally go to the new life that he would already committed to at the beginning of the film.
Well, you
so.
talk about the blacklisting
But-
and the guy who wrote it having to
Yeah.
flee.
He had to flee the country because he wouldn't have had a life in his chosen profession.
Yeah. So then this seems like Kane is having to leave.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus. Like, I'm glad I researched it too because I would have never seen that on that level. But really, a commentary on a really dark time in entertainment
history,
and just American history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't just film, but I mean, that was a lot of public stuff was happening with the film.
Yeah,
stuff
and
at the
there were a
time.
lot of writers trying to like sneak it in the whole thing because you're trying to stand up to corruption in a certain way, but what this one points out is there's a certain amount of corruption in doing nothing
Yeah.
and allowing just crap to happen.
Yeah.
So I like that. That's an interesting, also bit of a message in there.
Yeah. To a certain extent, I think we saw something similar happen at the beginning of Bush's run as president of the United States, and how many those really early outspoken people at the time against his presidency really got lambasted, and their careers are still suffering for it. Until it became cool to do so, like once SNL does it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you
know.
have to wait for history to vindicate you, and history
Yeah.
takes a while.
Yeah, and that's just it. History takes a while,
And then they make movies about you.
Yeah.
Right? Like Dalton Trumbo, which I haven't seen yet, but it's supposed to be really good.
It
And I
looks
good.
love his books.
Yeah, and
Nice.
it says something about it. Stand up for what you believe in. It may not be the right thing, but it's
Or just look at
You know.
it this way: stand up for what you believe in. If you see a victimization of any kind,
yeah,
don't just because people. This is the worst part of human nature: when people victimize other people under the guise that they're doing the right thing. If you're victimizing somebody, you're not doing the right thing.
yeah,
You're being a dick.
yeah,
Like, if you think you can treat somebody like garbage and in the name of saving them, you're not on the
missed
right
the
side of
fucking
anything.
point.
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't get it. Like, it's just this is the frustration, and this is what kind of this movie brought out in me. I'm like, damn it, they got it so right. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's a brilliant movie. It's
Yeah,
just,
it is, and it deserved all the accolades it got, and it probably should have won Best Picture that year. But again, I guess that was politics going on
Yeah.
at the time. So It is what it is, but it is recognized in the American Film Association as one of the 100 films you have to see before you die,
and
I'm glad it has.
up
in the National Archives as an important work.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it still has relevance today. Apparently,
one of the top 10 westerns of all time as well. Mm-hmm. And I'd agree with that. So.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Now from the Old West to
Io.
Mars.
Io.
By Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Yeah.
Jupiter, the moons of Jupiter. We head over to Outland from 1981, written and directed by Peter Hyams. And if you don't know that name, he wrote and directed things like 2010, the year we make contact, the not so fondly remembered sequel to 2001, A Space Odyssey, End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and of course the amazingly ludicrous comic book based movie Time Cop, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme.
JCVD.
So if that doesn't tell you what we're into.
He was also the director of photography. He was uncredited, but he was actually the...
Yes, he was an uncredited DOP. He hired on a
dick.
Because, he was a bit of a dick. He hired on a DOP that he could control and basically use as a fall guy if the film didn't work, because he wanted to do all the director of photography stuff. And the only reason the director of photography stayed on, they were using a new technique at the time.
Introvision?
Introvision. And it's kind of an actor standing seamlessly in front of a projection. And the DOP wanted to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why he stuck around. But dick.
Yeah.
That's a dick move.
And you can see how effective that was
Yeah.
in the very first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, before I get into the budget of that, I didn't actually tell you the budget because I did some math on High Noon. High Noon, its budget was $750,000, which would convert to, yes, I did the math on my own, would convert to $5.5 million in today's dollars.
Oh,
Wow.
that's a small budget still.
Yeah, it took in a box office, a global box office, I guess. I'm not sure. I couldn't find the stat, but of about $12 million.
Whoa.
In the 50s. That's $88.5 million by today's standards.
Holy crap.
Huge hit. So there you go.
They're approaching Deadpool numbers.
Yeah. Now, I didn't do the math on this one for Outland, but budget was $16 million in 1981, and the box office was, depending on where you look, between $17 to $20 million. So it evened out. It wasn't a huge success, but they didn't lose money on it either. And believe it or not, they are talking about a remake of this. Well, they've been talking...
As of 2009.
Yeah, they've been talking about a remake for quite some time. It's been kind of in the plannings for the last 6-7 years. So who knows?
No need. You can shelve it, please.
Yeah,
really,
I don't see
still
this one.
stands up on its own. It doesn't need to be remade.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's a great work, but it's enjoyable on its own. But it was intended as a Western, and then they moved it into science fiction because that's what was doing well at the time.
Yeah, and it's decent, but it sort of it loses the tension of High Noon by kind of extrapolating a bit too much in plot. Like it's too wide of a net, I think.
Well, they took a different tack on it. Like
They certainly did. Well, they basically took High Noon and attached it to kind of...
to the end of this movie.
A mystery. Well, I don't even know if it's a mystery. It feels... There's a lot of those like mid-level thrillers that we see that are kind of like this.
When I thought about it, when you told me this was a remake, I was trying to... I spent the first half of the movie trying to find out where that narrative fit in. Because I was like, what's happening?
I wrote it down. It actually happens at 1:09.
Yeah, and that's what confused me. So, like, for the first half, I was like going, well, okay, maybe this is a remake in the fact that this is the town before he cleans it up.
I think it's more of an envisioning.
That was exactly what the first hour was.
We're basically saying, we're seeing the Marshal at the beginning of his career, not the end of it.
Yeah,
when he first gets to town.
Yeah, and I mean, and they condensed that into like a week.
Yeah,
right?
2 weeks.
Yeah, he'd been there for about 2 weeks at the beginning of the movie. Outland, like I said, 1981, starring Sean Connery, our second Sean Connery movie. If you're wondering what the first one was, go back to episode 34. That was Thunderball and Never Say Never Again. Yes, we did a Bond movie.
Well, of course we did.
And actually, technically, this is our third one because Thunderball and Never Say Never Again are both Sean Connery.
Well, our
Yeah.
second episode.
Okay,
Jesus. Our second episode with Sean Connery.
Second
our
episode, third movie.
There we go.
All right. Yes, Sean Connery remade his own damn movie. And Frances Sternhagen, who is Dr. Lazarus. I totally agree with you. She might better know her from The Misery and The Mist. Just Misery. I guess there's no the.
That, or she's that actress you see in a movie and you're like, oh yeah, her.
Yes. The wonderful late Peter Boyle, James Sicking, Kika Markham, Clark Peters, Stephen Burkoff, who, he wasn't on screen very much, but he's a great on-screen villain. Like, I was looking up his resume and I'm like, Jesus, he's pretty much a career bad guy in things like Beverly Hills Cop and Octopussy and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Rambo 2 and Red 2. Like, he's all over the place, and he's always a bad guy.
Also in Lethal Weapon 2?
And I think in a very teeny part.
I'm not sure. I didn't see that one, so maybe. I'm not going to say no, but I'm not going to say yes. And John Ratzenberger.
Thank you.
Yes.
Who...
I saw that in the credits.
I knew he was in there, but I never did spot him.
Yeah,
I don't know if he had any lines.
He's the first guy who kills himself.
Oh, the guy who freaks out.
Yeah.
With the spiders?
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting bit of trivia. The actress who plays Dr. Lazarus plays John Ratzenberger's mother in Cheers.
That's right.
Yay! Yeah, I was trying to remember where else I'd seen her.
That's awesome.
What they need to do is she should have been in Toy Story then.
Yes.
Well, there's might be a chance.
The pig's mother.
That would be cool.
Because he's the piggy bank. No, or Mr. Potato Head.
He's Mr. Potato. I don't know. It's been so long since.
No, he's the piggy bank.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the piggy bank.
Okay. I can't believe we're debating Toy Story.
Okay, so the setting of this movie is on the third moon of Jupiter called Io, and it is a mining colony, Can-Am 27.
Yeah.
They give us a lot of information that means nothing, but there's 2,144 personnel, 1,250 labor, and 715 in support, and 180 in maintenance, meaning there's a little over 4,000 people in this colony.
And they mine titanium.
And the contracts are for a year, and titanium being the main thing.
It takes 70 hours to get from the space station to the mining outpost.
And I think they gave us all that data because they wanted to establish it as a frontier town to sort of set it up as that Western feel.
Yeah, and Western and science fiction have gone hand in hand for a very long time. I mean, Star Trek was definitely Westerns just repackaged with a bright and shiny feel.
Star Wars,
absolutely.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so that's
Buck
why
Rogers even.
They've Westerns with laser guns has worked for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you can get that same sense of isolation and desolation in space as you can in the Old West.
And
right?
I think it's also about the fact maybe you put people into a nice isolated place in the middle of nowhere. Things can get a little lawless if you don't have somebody keeping an eye on it.
Yeah,
right?
and that's I think exactly what the director was going for, was when he was writing it, was to capture that whole sense of lawlessness, right? And you see that fairly early in the film how lawless this camp really is.
They have the the mysterious drug problem. At least at the beginning, it's a mystery.
Yeah,
and the very obviously working girls that have been shipped up there. Strictly for
the prostitutes are there.
Yeah, strictly for the workers. They got prostitutes and bars and things like that. The places where people can unload any kind of mining or oil area where people need to unwind.
It's the Fort Mac.
Yeah, right. But these are company sanctioned prostitutes. I mean, they make it very clear that they're sanctioned and they're encouraged to come and spend and do a year contract up there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now of course we haven't gotten to our marshal yet. But.
No, you know what? Let's run the trailer and then we'll get into that. So hold that thought and we'll run that trailer.
Second moon of Jupiter. Something deadly is happening.
Pretty soon they'll see that this is just like every other mining town. I work these people hard, and I let them play hard. There's never much trouble. We're all professionals.
I'm sure we are. We've only been here 2 weeks. It'll get better, I promise.
I got nothing more on that incident in the mine yesterday. It looks like some guy just went wacko.
It happens here.
How often?
I don't know. It just happens here.
Why?
I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't tell you why. Some people just can't take it here after a while.
What's that guy think he's doing?
No way it could have been homicide. Had to have been a suicide.
28 in the last 6 months.
Did you do autopsy?
No.
Then how do you know it was a suicide? There's no other explanation.
When a person exposes himself to zero pressure atmosphere, there isn't a whole lot left to inspect.
Something's there, isn't it?
Maybe.
Try and meddle, I want you to know what you're meddling with. How do you leave? I'm dealing with grown-ups here.
Bingo.
Marshall, you're dead.
If you're the kind of guy you're supposed to be, you wouldn't stick around. That's why they sent you here.
Maybe they made a mistake. Outland, the ultimate enemy, is still man.
Okay, that was the trailer for Outland. And yeah, you couldn't see it. Lots of people exploding.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
And we didn't talk about special effects when you were looking at when you're going through the sort of cast and crew. But what was his name? John Stead?
Yeah, I actually didn't look this one up.
I did, though, because I was really interested to see who did it, and I've now lost it. I will find it. Let's keep talking.
Okay, keep talking amongst yourself.
Yeah, no, there's like a lot of exploding people. Like it starts off the very first scene, like on that mining thing, they're out working, and some guy just starts freaking out, saying there's spiders everywhere all over him. Which to me, like that was a dead giveaway. There's something wrong. Like kind of
well, you can see
drug-wise.
him even through the helmet. You can see he's sweating. That there's something clearly wrong, and most of his friends think he's just goofing around.
Yeah.
Until he cuts his own suit, like he cuts the oxygen cord.
Yeah.
And then quickly implodes.
Which makes me kind of wonder, though, like if you
Explodes.
think this is how your friend
Boils.
is fucking around, what's wrong with your friend before that?
Yeah, I know, you really got to wonder, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys were bitching about union rules and stuff like that. It was actually kind of fun to watch them. They're sort of being there's 8 people to a crew. Why are we working with 7? Right?
Yeah.
This is right in the contract. It's 8 men per crew, and it was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that parts of it that felt very procedural make it seem more real as
Yes.
like a mining outpost where they have to do things. Then you have to get your suit and you have to like attach it and like get all the gases out and all that stuff. Like it actually makes sense.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of procedure to what we see. Like they do go to their way to make this look like a very functional mining town at the beginning of the film, and there's lots of people doing what they do, and cramped spaces with a lot of people in them. So there's going to be tension in a situation like this, and
it's a rig camp, is what it is.
it is, yeah, totally.
It really is. Yeah, their primary resource is titanium, but ultimately, it's basically it is really a mining camp.
Yeah,
It's not a
you're
town,
there
it's
to
a
make
camp,
money.
right?
You're not there to do anything else. Make as much money as you can and then spend it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, or spend as much as you can there on prostitutes and at the leisure center, or is they call it leisure center or leisure lounge, or
Yeah, I can't remember. It was like the leisure.
it was very strange.
Some sort of weird light show with people kind of having sex on a bar.
Well, I'm almost wondering if they were supposed to be like holograms.
I'm wondering. I think they were supposed to be,
you know
but they
what?
didn't look holographic.
They didn't.
No,
looked
because they
real.
were breaking the space of the
hologram.
The hologram. So I don't know. I think that was just funky lighting.
Yeah, it was hard to, when I first saw them, I'm like, are they supposed to be holograms, or are they just people like simulating sex on his pedestal.
Unlike most strip joints and stuff, nobody seemed to give a shit that these guys were humping in the middle of the bar.
Yeah.
So,
like it was the equivalent of being in like a sports bar, and they're paying less attention to the TVs in a sports bar than they were these people simulating sex.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, no, but really, I mean, yeah, the whole place was kind of strange, but it kind of paid into the whole immorality of the place.
Oh yeah, it had that debauched feel where people are like, yeah, I mean, I've seen it all, I've done it all, I just need to blow off some steam.
And most people, like, they didn't have units to live in. They had bunks and lockers. That's really all they had. So they really had to exist in different places when they weren't working. Only the upper staff had places, fully functional rooms.
Or people with families had abodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, when you first see our Marshall in his unit with his family, they have a small kitchen. His office is in there. Right? Like, I mean, it's a functioning office. Like, he's got his weapons locker in there, so it's a multi-purpose space as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like, space is at a premium in this space. But
well, when you're in space, it's because of this. Space has a lot of space, except when you're in space, and the space inside is less space than the space.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It costs a lot of money to have space in space.
Yes, I know. Ironically,
yes,
you have all the space in the world, but you can't afford all that space.
Stop us now.
Okay, so now that you've played the Invasion of the Remake drinking game, if you drank every time we said space, well, it's been nice knowing you. You're dead now.
You're gone. You'll be missed and loved. Leaving space for new listeners. Oh, damn.
Just one more. Just had to get one more in.
Just had to get one more.
There'll be probably one or two more before the end of this podcast, but you'll never know when they'll come.
Yeah, and undoubtedly there's going to be a few more of those.
Yeah. So the Marshal, he's 2 weeks in. We learned that fairly early in the film.
Can we talk about that first meeting? Peter Boyle's little speech?
Oh, sure. Yeah, well...
that does come after we first meet Marshall,
There's a bit of tension with him and his wife. Like, it seems like they've gone from colony to colony like this. Their son has never been on Earth.
No.
So was obviously born in a colony like this, in small spaces, in dingy mining town type of situations, these frontier kind of towns.
And he looks like 12, 13.
Yeah.
And he was by far the most poorly cast person in the film. He was horrible.
Oh, he was terrible.
I felt it should have been a slightly younger actor would have helped.
Who can actually act?
Yeah. Like, because it seems some of the lines were written for a child actor much smaller.
Yes, because he called him Daddy, and he
Mommy
older.
says I can do this. I'm like, oh, okay.
You're special.
I could get this if it was like just a younger child.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not what I got.
I don't know. Well, if he was born in situations where gravity is...
He could be taller, it's true.
Not a thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so gravity's not pulling on you the same way. His brain might be working the same way because if he was
1/6 the gravity.
Yeah, so who knows? He's a space baby.
I wish that would have been the explanation. I would have loved for that to have been the explanation. We needed lines like that. That would have been great.
Yeah, I mean, really, we're overanalyzing a very minor character.
Yeah, no,
that would have been awesome.
This is what Marvel would have called a no prize. So I'm defending the shitty actor.
No, but I'm like, that would actually be pretty great. I would love that to be part of the story.
Considering how much detail they give you at the beginning, they should have given you that too.
Exactly.
Yeah. But ultimately, she's getting ready to leave, but he doesn't know.
Yeah, she doesn't really have the balls to say it. But yeah, she basically says like, I get the feeling this has been a pattern with Marshall O'Neill, that he's gone from town to town. It'll be different next time, and it never actually is. That's kind of in the dialogue, and it sounds like this is just the pattern they've been going through, and she can't do it anymore. I do get the feeling they do have a residence back on Earth or something, so they are preparing for the trip, and it's a full year in sleep to do it. he goes to work not knowing that he's going to get a Dear John letter here soon.
But they do have one thing where he gets a message and somebody mentions tickets.
Yes.
And she says, oh no, I got them for somebody else. He's not a very good detective. He didn't pick up on that at all.
No, especially considering it was his own sergeant who set that up.
Yes.
Who was actually named Pell, was he not?
No, his name was Montone.
Montone.
And the only reason I knew his name is because
this message.
Well, no, actually, it was because I was getting people's names by their name tags that were stitched on their uniforms.
Yeah, half the time you had to.
See, I only got it because there was that message and Montone was at the end. It took me a while to figure out. Where the message about where the stuff is stored.
Yeah, I didn't make note at the time, but I was getting frustrated not knowing people's names. So I just started looking like, okay, well, I noticed like they got badges, they probably have name tags, and sure enough, that I'm like, okay, well, his name's Montone, or they stole that uniform off a guy named Montone.
Yeah. To be fair, there's like that is a certain realism to that type of doing a film, because like when I see you, I don't go, hello Jason Bishop, how are you today?
Fine, thank you for looking at my name tag.
Yeah, like that's not how we greet each other. It's just like, hi, how are you doing?
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen.
You might say your first name, or most likely a nickname or a diminutive name, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know.
And that's the clever part of the film is like there are name tags on at least the staff that works with him.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So. And anybody else, if they give them a name, like nobody's on screen long enough for you to care who they are.
It's true. I mean, it's very true. I mean, there's the two drug dealers. They get names and they're referenced specifically because of the searches that he does.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the characters who die, the first character who dies, I don't think they give him a name, but the second one, when he goes into the elevator.
Well, if that was John Ratzenberger, he was Tarlo.
Yes. But they never. I don't think actually. Oh no, I think they do when they're.
I think they did when they're doing their investigation.
Yeah, and I think they're when he's having his attack and it's fit and his friends are trying to stop him. Right?
Yeah.
But then the second guy who dies, who goes into the
the elevator,
his name was Kane.
Oh.
Yes. I think that was a little nod to the original film.
Yeah, they definitely don't give any credit to that film, but especially in the last bit, it definitely becomes high noon
at the end.
At the end of the film, it takes a while to get there though because it's a different movie at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, there's a whole internal story at the beginning about these drugs that are getting smuggled onto there, which are basically they're methamphetamines that make people work harder and longer. But the problem with them is after so many months, your brain just fucking fries.
Yeah, they're slow acting bath salts. Yeah, they're basically I get the feeling the company is aware of it going on, but they'll turn a blind eye to anything that increases productivity.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll work like 4 times more efficient on this drug.
Yeah.
So they're getting a lot more productivity out of the people using it.
And there is something to be said at the beginning of the movie where Peter Boyle is like, yeah, no, we've got the most productivity of any other mining facility, blah, blah, blah. Which at that point I was kind of highly suspicious of. I'm like going, oh, really? Really?
Yeah. He says that right at the beginning of the film. I'm like, okay, you're the bad guy.
Yeah, not just that. It's kind of like going, yeah, that sounds an awful lot like methamphetamines or something being fed to people to make them work harder, because you can't have such a huge increase without any increase in manpower without something untoward happening.
With actually a decrease in manpower because they're working 7-man shifts instead of 8.
7-man shifts. Yeah, so like they're decreasing manpower and increasing productivity. So if the company would have to know about that.
Yeah, they're saving money and making more money on less people.
Yeah.
That they'd have to know about it, but so they're basically turning a blind eye. They're not condoning it, but they're not going to stop it.
But they'll also bury it if, like, I think the thing is publicity of it. If anybody finds out, that's when the company cares. They don't care with all these people dying, because Dr. Lazarus at a certain point, they say in the previous 6 months, like this last 6 months, 28 people have died by this whole thing where they'll go crazy.
And then 24 the 6 months prior.
No, there's 2 in the 6 months prior, wasn't there?
No. 28 in the last 6 months, 24 in the 6 months prior.
Correct.
And then
2 before that.
2 before that. Right. So right about the start of Shepard's tenure as the general manager.
Which is hugely suspicious.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and Shepard being Peter Boyle. So their first meeting, well, I don't know about the first meeting, but there's a meeting.
It's a general meeting.
It's a general meeting between Marshall and his officers and the heads of the departments
staff,
of the mine facility, and Shepard being the one in charge of, I think,
he's just the general manager.
He's the general manager
of that facility.
Yeah, and he says, my men like to...
They work hard and play hard.
Give them some leniency.
And I'm like...
As long as nobody's getting hurt.
Yeah.
Which somebody does get terribly hurt. A poor prostitute gets her jaw broke.
Yeah, there's another...
Almost stabbed. Right? Yeah, she gets stabbed once and almost killed.
Before that, there's another miner. They're prepping for another 8 guys to go outside to do some work, and this guy just walks onto the elevator to go outside without his suit. Mm-hmm. He's just staring and waving at everybody and smiling, and he's got his bagged lunch.
Yeah, like he's not
quite there, but he's on autopilot, and he goes outside, gets down to the bottom, and the elevator opens up, and the guys that are already out there open it up, and
see
it's a big bloody
gooey
mess. Yeah, that's when the marshal starts to investigate, first meets Dr. Lazarus. Mm-hmm. And
their first meeting's amazing.
It's great. She's a nasty, nasty bitch. Have you done an autopsy? Well, 1, they ship out the bodies, and
on
2,
the next shuttle.
On the next shuttle, and 2, what's left to do an autopsy of?
Yes.
There's not much left after they've gone.
And that scene before when he walks up where she's berating that lady for ordering 1,000
packs, not 100. 1,000.
They do not sound the same at all. Listen to me. 100, 1,000. They do not sound the same at all.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how long her tour has been, but I get the feeling she's been there more than a few tours, and she's just had it with everybody.
Yeah, it is. She's just nasty all the time, and she knows, like, this. You're not getting sent here because you're awesome.
She actually says outright. She says, "We don't get sent here because we're good doctors."
Yeah,
we're just a shuttle away from a malpractice suit.
Yeah, no, she was by far the most fun character, and she did add that
she's brutally honest
levity to a pretty dark film.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, her just surliness adds a lot of levity to the film.
Yeah.
She actually has a bit of an arc. She still is a nasty bitch all the way through, but she's one of the ones that kind of like, okay, I kind of like this guy. You know, he's something different than the rest of the people here.
Yeah, I think she kind of gets the feeling. Him. Yeah, she also gets, I think, kind of the feeling she's like, I've noticed shit's been going down, but nobody's been doing fuck all about it, and I'm pissed off. But I think she gets with this guy, like, well, maybe this guy might do something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It might not change anything, but at least somebody's trying.
Yeah, she at least respects him for having some kind of morals and following up on the job he's supposed to do.
And he doesn't put up with her shit either, right?
No.
I mean, that's part of their dynamic, especially the beginning. There is I mean, she's nasty to him, and he's nasty right back.
Yeah. He even calls her a nasty bitch.
Yeah, he even calls her a nasty bitch. Or at one point, he's just like going to knock around this room, and I'm like, I know you're a woman, but that's Sean Connery. He'll do it.
He's not kidding.
No.
I'll knock you nasty ass.
I'll knock your teeth in. I don't know. I can't do Sean Connery.
I can't do impressions at all. Everybody knows that.
I'll knock your teeth in.
Yeah, no, this is where we need Jeff, because Jeff's the guy who does impressions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jeff, we miss your impressions anyway. Where's our performing monkey?
I know. We got
bananas.
We should just go and record and be like, can you do this one and this one and this one?
We'll figure out how to use it later.
Yeah, we don't care. We'll do a movie related to this person. It's fine.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. So this second one kind of sparks this interest in he's already kind of curious about that first death, but he's willing to trust his staff at least for now.
Yeah, I think because there's that question he asked when they're saying, well, we've ruled it a suicide, and he says, well, then where's the note?
Yeah.
Right? He's already asking questions. It's like, well, how can you rule suicide if there's no evidence aside from this man's...
But then you get that sort of the same thing of the town in High Noon where, well, there's no other explanation, and I'm too lazy to find out.
Yeah, and I mean, they're already sort of establishing that disinterest.
Yeah, they don't care. They're out here, they're like, I get paid. I'm not doing anything.
I'm doing the bare minimum I have to do.
Yeah.
to get through this tour.
His sergeant comes off pretty nice at the beginning, but
he's suspicious. But basically because of that '80s thing.
Yeah, he does. I don't know. He comes off quite friendly, and then like, you're too friendly. Damn it. That's Sergeant Montone, played by James Sicking.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Well, and I think having watched High Noon. Prior to this, we're expecting his deputy or his right-hand man to be sketchy.
Yeah.
You're anticipating.
He's Pell.
Right?
Yeah, and you're anticipating him to be, dirty or something. And he is under the thumb of Shepard. He claims not so bad, but it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
The thing about him, though, is I don't know, he's not under the thumb strictly because he's after all the money. He's just weak-willed.
Yeah.
He's not cut out to be a marshal, I don't think. We need James B. Zicking as Hill Street Blues James B. Zicking, and then he would be fine. Because he wasn't careful out there, and things went bad.
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it too is, he's the sergeant. He was a sergeant there under the previous marshal.
Oh, right? Yeah, marshal. Yeah.
Right. So he was already set up by this other marshal to look the other way. Right. Mm-hmm. So he was already sort of following a pre-established regime. Mm-hmm. Right. With this, so he stepped into a mess.
Oh yeah, the corruption mess was already there. So
that's right. So he wasn't necessarily weak-willed so much as I don't think he really felt like he had a choice when he stepped in there, because the previous marshal clearly would have been involved in it.
But he doesn't,
or turning a blind eye to it.
But you notice he's kind of, even under Sean Connery, it's sort of like, okay, so the manager's really powerful and this other guy's really powerful. He wanders around just saying kind of yes a lot.
Yeah, he does.
He's not a strong person. Yeah, he's a sergeant. He's not.
And he's not a marshal. But when he gets called out, he fesses up right away. And you can tell that he sees an opportunity to redeem himself.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, he knew it was wrong, and you could tell he didn't really like it, but he didn't know how to deal with it. Right? At least that's the feeling I got from him. He was a lot more mature character than Pell was in High Noon.
But that also kind of brings to the point, like, he confesses right away, but it's sort of like, oh, God, now somebody can fix the mess that I can't possibly fix.
Oh, yeah, no,
like,
he's not... the buck, right? But he's still looking for that redemption.
He's not strong enough. He's looking for the redemption, but he's just not strong as a character.
And Connery's gonna, at least he wants to use him as the inside guy with Shepard to help track down the dealers and everything else. Now there's one more incident with another miner, and this is the guy that attacks the hooker.
Yes.
And
they have to go inside and
and that was the marshal's still trying to cover things up at that point with the drugs. He knows what this is. This guy's freaking out on his drug, and it's got the woman hostage, and it's a nasty hostage situation. So he's coming in through the air vent while Connery's trying to talk the guy down through the door, and he's doing a good job talking the guy down. It's looking like they might come to a peaceful resolution. The sergeant Montone coming out of that air vent,
and then you get a
guns
kind of
blazing.
Yeah, now you get today's police argument. Well, he was a threat. Today's news.
Did anybody else find it unusual or very odd that they were using shotguns in a pressurized environment?
Yeah.
Yes, because these go bad a couple of times.
Their sci-fi was very modern 80s. And like for being on IO, I'm guessing it was still the 80s. It was just in an alternate reality where they were able to
managed to get there.
And it's still an 80s technology, that shitty golf video game that Shepard was playing.
But even
everything looks so 80s.
But the problem with it is they've been doing space travel in the 60s. They would have figured out if you breach the hull in any way, stuff's going to go bad.
Well, I'm guessing they know which areas are safe and which ones are not too. I mean, they literally had these tunnels that were, that's where you don't want to.
He actually uses that.
And he uses that to his advantage.
But what happens
These other places were solid metal.
But what are you thinking when you're basically your only weapon on this thing? Only you can use it in certain places. Like a guy just runs out to a place you can't use the weapon. You're just like, oh, well, I guess he got away from it.
I mean, neener.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's the stupidest thing.
Yeah, well, if you're going through an air vent and these metallic places, these rooms and things, obviously they know there's no threat of breaking the barrier. I would think. I
Or
mean,
maybe
these are police officers who should know enough. Although
maybe this is
something a little more precise than a shotgun would have made more sense.
Necessarily going to pierce the skin of a
taser. A taser will do the trick, guys.
Taser would have been good.
Beanbag gun.
A beanbag gun, much lower.
A dart gun?
Lower caliber type of handgun or something.
Or like the little dummy bullets. Or maybe it's the idea was, I don't know, I'm just thinking, the idea of having it shotguns was to keep it in that Western idea of high
sure, that's what that was.
Sure,
they didn't think it through. They're like, well, let's set it in space, but let's like still keep the Western guns. Like somebody who was an idiot managed to get their way.
Yeah, maybe. But those, like I said, those arguments about pressurized areas and stuff, that's how the movie ends.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it does play in. I just found it unusual, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In fact, nobody really gets killed by a gun.
No.
Except for the one, the last.
That one guy.
The one meth head.
Yeah, the one meth head. That's it. I mean, they grab him quite often, but...
Yeah, which at this point, that's when Sean Connery gets the blood from his body.
Before he gets shipped out, he manages to take a few syringes of his blood, takes him back to Dr. Lazarus, who really doesn't know how to use this analyzing equipment very well, but is able to figure it out. What was their line?
Oh, yeah, like I'm an old wreck trying to deal with like this new technology or something like that,
or something. She says, "I may be a nasty bitch, but I'm not stupid."
Oh yeah, I may be a nasty bitch, but I'm not stupid.
Yeah, no, I may be unpleasant, but I'm not stupid.
Unpleasant.
Yes. Yeah. So it takes her forever to get there, but she's like going through. It's like stuff's here's normal, like
and that's
protein,
that whole like
carbohydrates.
One step away from malpractice, and they're trying to make the science of it. I'm like, okay, that's normal. That's normal. That's normal. Hey, do you want to know what he had for dinner?
Yeah, he didn't eat his vegetables.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden it goes beep 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 beep, and they're like going, I don't know how to isolate a molecule. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Yeah, how do I isolate a new molecule?
Yeah, like she's out there to kind of like just bandage up damage. Yeah. She's not there to really, cut a new swath through anything, blaze a trail. She knows this.
Yeah. Now the net's kind of closing around Shepard, and O'Neill does actually confront him about this.
Right after this.
Yeah, right after this.
No.
Or was this after they catch the dealer?
The two drug dealers first, and then talks to Shepard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he talks to him about it, and he's then Shepard is like, well, if you're just after more money, like that's how he automatically assumes
you're pretty smart.
Yeah, he automatically assumes that this is a shakedown.
Yeah.
Which at that point, Sean Connery's
he's not even trying to deny it.
What the hell? Yeah. It's just Sean Connery's like, you're just gonna what? Like,
I'm surprised he doesn't arrest him right there and then.
Yeah, but then you'd have less of a movie.
Yeah.
So
well,
I'm guessing.
But there's probably no actual connections to him.
He can't connect it directly.
He's kind of admitting it, but not saying it outright. But he's certainly not denying anything. He's like, oh, well, what do you want?
Well, it would be like kind of a security guard trying to arrest the CEO. You can't do it without some serious evidence.
Yeah. And that's what the rest of the movies, the next few scenes are about. Is him trying to gather that evidence, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So he's trying to gather that evidence, and there's conflicts. He managed to have a pretty fun chase through through the station with this drug dealer through all sorts of areas. We get to see them through the locker rooms and a kitchen, and I even wrote down, I love me a good kitchen fight.
Oh, yeah. Because there's so much in a kitchen to fight with.
And Sean Connery's such a badass. He tries to ditch the drugs in boiling water. And
okay, that bugged me.
That bugged me a bit, but he sticks his hand and just grabs it, just dives in, grabs the drugs out of there, it fucking hurt.
Yeah, and then he's just minorly bandaged later. I'm like, you wouldn't be able to move that hand, dude.
Oh, God. I'm like, okay.
Or maybe this is that future medicine we're supposed to have.
That's that contractual Sean Connery's got to be a badass moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because he really did pull it off there. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, he gets that, and then he also intercepts another message that was after that.
Yeah, well, he's smart enough to put bugs in all these guys' communications and things like that. So yeah, he gets this guy. The guy's not talking, and I do like the jail cell. It's a 0G jail cell, so they're in a spacesuit. So it's obviously one of those compressed areas.
Yeah.
So it's probably equal to the outside of Io. So it really is a genius of an inescapable jail cell.
Well, yeah, and that's also takes into why this guy
Yeah.
Turks it. Like, he can't get out.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Somebody cuts his line.
Yeah, somebody cut his line. He basically, this is after his talk with Sergeant Montone, and nobody sees him, nobody talks to him. And so then he goes to talk to Shepard, and I don't know, a little time passes, he comes back, and sees the perp dead, and
opens this closet.
Open the closet and sees his sergeant dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strangled.
Yeah,
he's been strangled.
With the bloated tongue and everything. It was actually...
Yeah, that grossed me out, but it was
really
good.
well done.
Yeah.
It was good, but it was gross.
Yeah. I mean, you might have made extrapolations that maybe Montone did it for Shepard, but then he pops out and he's like, damn.
Yeah.
And it's sad because that guy was having a turn of heart. I get it. You know, that's sending a big message as well.
Yeah.
Back off.
Yeah, well, that
you can't change sides.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it even before that Peter Boyle tells him you're a dead man?
No, it was after.
No.
It was after?
Yeah.
It was
okay, because he does outright tell the marshal that I'm going to kill you. You are a dead man.
He gets the second dealer.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And I can't remember how he gets taken out. I've already forgotten how the second...
Oh, he has him, like, he knows where the drugs are. The drugs are being delivered in a carcass.
Oh, yes, that was in the freezer scene.
In the freezer section.
Where he pulls out, like, reams and reams of this
There's a lot of those drugs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he goes back to Shepard and says, I got your man, and I flushed your drugs.
Yeah, or the other way around. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure. So, and that's basically when Shepard says you're a dead man.
Yeah.
And Shepard calls somewhere for help, and they're
Yeah,
sending...
we never get an answer there.
Yeah, and we're sending two more guys, and they're basically saying, if you don't get the job done here, you're dead.
And this is when it becomes high noon.
Yeah, the next men. And then it turns into high noon, because this shuttle is coming.
70 hours.
And Sean Connery is aware that these men are coming on the next shuttle for him, and it does turn into high noon. He starts seeking help.
Yes.
He is intercepting communications. He knows he can't trust his men. In fact, he actually asks his new sergeant, who basically says, well, we're men with family. And Sean Connery goes, I have a family.
Well, and there's also...
And he also hears... he is also aware that there is somebody on the inside.
Because Shepard says it.
Yeah, because Shepard says it in the communication that I have a man on the inside.
Yeah, he just doesn't know who.
Yeah.
Who's letting everybody know. And he's like, there's not enough information he can get out of that.
Yeah. Doesn't take a wizard to know what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got the guy that's too friendly. It's always bad.
Yeah. So, new sergeant, the only guy who actually gets any screen time, of course it's him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, just add a character or two just to throw us off.
Yeah.
It would have been nice, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to do that.
No real mystery there. We knew that guy was going to turn. And two more guys coming on shuttle, and now we've got the countdown clock, which really doesn't mean anything because the shuttle arrives early.
Yes, I know.
Like a 40
fucking
minutes sort of.
Do the clock countdown, and then it doesn't mean fuck all.
Well, to be fair, it wasn't real time. That 70 hours wasn't real.
It's funny. It did
still pissed me off.
It did piss me off too. It's like, really? It's early? And then I'm like, well, no, because that actually adds to the tension because now he's got less time. Right?
See, I would have liked him to still been doing a few things while that was docking.
Yes.
That would have made it a bit more tense, but he was done by then.
Yeah.
I mean, the entire colony knows these guys are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've all crowded into the lounge.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Yeah. I like that scene where he goes to drink in there and he doesn't say a word.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody just is quiet. Everything just comes to a halt when he walks in. He sits down, gets a drink, starts drinking, and everybody realizes nothing's going to happen. So... Yeah, and then they go back to their partying, but it's awkward and tense for everybody.
Awkward and tense until he gets to leave and he says, I could use a little help.
Yeah.
And then...
Didn't that happen afterwards, or no?
Oh, no.
I thought that was a separate scene.
I think it was a separate scene, you're right, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He goes to play racquetball by himself, and that's when Dr. Lazarus shows up, and you're not sure if she's going to help or not, honestly. She's realistic about the situation.
Yeah, she points out, just like, I know what you want to do, but do you think that's going to change anything? The company wants to make their money, dude.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's sort of lost her hope
even sure.
there.
Well, she's not even sure why he's doing it. And I'm not sure he does either. He's basically saying,
"Ooh, it's the same thing."
Yeah, I want to know what kind of man I am.
Yeah.
He's been sent there because loose lips and all that. They make a point of saying that
he's got a big mouth.
He's got a big mouth. He wants to prove that he's a better man than they think he is.
Yeah.
Than they're treating him as.
Yeah, and see, I kind of, when it got to the big mouth bit, I thought that sort of played in more to his character. Is he was probably that guy who was pointing out, this is corrupt, and that's why he kept getting shifted around, because he was interfering with their making of the money.
Yeah.
But he was the one guy who was telling people, like, this isn't right.
Yeah, before the shuttle arrives, he has one more communication with his wife. Another awkward communication. She doesn't want to leave, but she basically explained she doesn't want her son growing up in this environment.
No.
And is kind of inviting him to come, And
she got 3 tickets.
Yeah, she did get 3 tickets. And he's like, well, still got one more thing to deal with here, kind of thing. And it's like, I can't leave yet. And she thinks there's a problem. He's talking in like these 1-2 word responses. So that's kind of her cue saying, yeah, there's something wrong there. But he keeps saying, it's fine.
Is the train, I guess, that we're... right?
No.
She's leaving on the train.
It's the train, but it's also... that point where in High Noon he wrote a letter to be opened in the event of my death, which we never see or have anything to do with. But Amy reads. There's a shot of her with it open. Yeah, and she's on the desk. I think that's what this is as well.
Yeah, that's the inventor. Yeah, it's that moment for sure.
So
and it's another desperate moment, and he's on his own again. No help's coming, except it does because Lazarus does come out to help. Which is kind of nice. The only person in the entire place that comes to help. Basically, I mean, she's not going to shoot anybody in the back. She is kind of a secondary character that kind of replaces Amy from the first one.
Yes.
Not a shoot in the back situation, but she does
trying to herd them.
Help herd them to where he wants them to be, and then lock them in.
Yeah.
And she does treat the shoulder wound because he does get shot.
Yes.
Yeah. By the first guy that he takes out? No, because he gets that guy later. I mean, the whole fight scene was a little bit confusing for me in Outland because it was dark. And, I mean, what the hell were they wearing?
I don't know. And then that guy's weird scope thing. Yeah. He had a bead on him right in the first part of the fight and still misses. Yeah. I'm like, you're useless.
Yeah.
I'm like, he was right in your crosshairs. How did you miss?
Yeah, and they do say that they're the best guys. They're not the best guys.
No, there's some real quality control over with the bad guys.
Oh, yeah, and do we want to get back to like how the second bad guy dies?
Well, everybody dies from explosion.
Yeah, but I mean, when we talk about having a gun in a pressurized environment.
The dumbass. Oh, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, here's what I'm going to do. Like, you're the best you're the best guy they could send, and you think shooting a guy outside of the greenhouse is the best way to do this?
Outside of your pressurized environment?
Yeah, how long have you been in space? There you go, guys. Where you
take a drink.
Where you don't know that firing at a glass window, through a glass window into
space.
Yeah, he sees a shadow of something falling and shoots at it. I'm like, it's falling.
Yeah, I know, right? That was part of it. I'm like... But
it's dead weight outside. Outside.
Do you think these guys on purpose sent the 2 dumbest guys to go do this because they had no faith in this whole operation?
They were Earth hitmen who've never been off of Earth or something. I don't know.
Well, there's a whole story to be out there because it takes a year.
Oh yeah,
to get from Earth to Io.
They've had to have been at the nearest spaceport.
So they had to have had some experience.
I don't know. Were they high on this drug? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, the other guy gets it in the tunnel where.
Yeah, see, the tunnel makes sense because he goes in there thinking he's going to the other end. He doesn't make the mistake the other guy does, who's just a dumbass. This guy's like, "Well, I think he went through here because that's kind of what it looks like."
Yeah,
there's blood trailing in there.
He's not aware that Sean Connery's gone outside.
No,
so he's still tracking him inside. I don't think either one of them know he's outside.
No,
not until it's too late.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, if the guy had been paying attention, he would have been able to tell that O'Neill was outside because you could see his shadow through the
through the greenhouse wall. Like, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bright. Yeah, I don't know, and I didn't.
He deserved to
think,
die from stupidity.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That falling square is a human being. No, it's not.
Yeah, didn't look human. And why did you shoot
and
it?
it's
That
falling slow enough that you had time to look at it and make sure it wasn't debris of some sort.
That was
if
a
you're
Darwin
that good of a
Award-winning
shot,
guess.
you can just track it and pay attention until you see it's not him.
Sean Connery's yay for stupid people.
I know.
And then the third, the inside guy
Yeah.
comes out for a final confrontation, and
His was a more exciting
Yeah,
one.
his was more exciting. He gets the spacesuit, and there's a fight outside. Sean Connery manages to sever his oxygen thing, and then drops him over this electric.
It's the solar panel.
Grid,
Yeah.
Solar
the
panel.
solar
Oh
panels.
yeah, the
They're like,
electric grid.
shh.
So he gets, so he either exploded or fried. I'm not sure which.
I don't know.
What-
He kind
what
of
got
goes
him
into the
first?
darkness, and then there's a spark, and then nothing.
Yeah.
So I guess that was up to our imagination.
Yeah.
And the effects department, they're like, we can do this. We don't have to know what happened.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's an easy fix.
Yeah, and then Shepard comes back and knocks Shepard's teeth out.
See, but I thought Lazarus. Okay, with the other bad cop, I thought Lazarus was in for it when she's trying to find him on the cameras, and the guy comes in. Oh, hey, how are you doing? And the usual bad guy who shows up, and usually that person dies.
Yeah, she didn't. There was no conflict there at all.
Yeah, no, and I wonder if that was supposed to be like a red herring, thinking that you weren't supposed to give you just that one moment of doubt that it was going to be
Lazarus.
well, not Lazarus, but
him?
but his new sergeant.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right, it's like when he comes in and checks it out, you think, hey, maybe he isn't the inside guy.
Yeah.
And then he shows up in the suits. But I mean, it was. I think that's what that was.
I think he and I got the feeling he was forced. There's nothing really to say it there, but I don't think he really wanted to kill anybody that he didn't have to. Mm-hmm. So he was just using her for intel to figure out where he was, and probably said, I wish they would have put that on screen. We're like, okay, I'm going to go see if I can help him, and then we get the scene where we want. But that would have just put that little extra bit of doubt. Yeah.
For sure.
into the viewers' minds. I would have
Because
liked
I was
that.
still a bit confused.
Yeah, I would have liked that scene to go a wee bit longer and explain why she was fine. If he turned out to be a bad guy, and if you would just give us that little moment there, that would have worked out a lot better.
Because right after that, she goes into the bar looking kind of harried, and I thought something had happened.
Yeah, maybe there was a fight scene that just got cut out of the movie.
and that's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that whole scene's probably tense for an older lady like that, too, right? She's being drawn into a situation.
She's helping somebody nobody wants to help.
Yeah.
Everybody else is kind of technically a danger.
That does put her in the crosshairs.
Yeah.
And I really wondered what happened to Shepard, too, because he gets slugged, but I don't know if he actually gets arrested. Do we even see that? Sean Connery just leaves.
No,
but Dr. Lazarus kind of makes a
He must
bit
have been arrested.
Yeah, no, there's some
They had enough
commentary at the end of the, like as Lazarus and O'Neill are parting, they talk about how he's going to be court-martialed or something like that.
She's like, the shit's going to hit the fan, and I want to be here to see it.
Yeah. So, and then he leaves to be with his family.
Yeah, he manages to get over there. He sends her a message being, I'll come there, keep the ticket warm, I'll be on the shuttle with you guys.
Yeah. So all in all, I would say Outland did not. It definitely wasn't trying to convey the same tension that High Noon was. I don't think.
Well, I don't know if it successfully gets there. I think it definitely tries to do that in the last half hour.
Yeah,
I think,
but
45 minutes or so.
For me, it's a different commentary altogether.
Yeah. Yes.
Because in High Noon, these people are now living in a fairly quiet, uneventful town, thanks to this marshal who came in and cleaned it up and made it safe for families again. In Outland, it's like the opposite of that. This is a lawless town that people just want to remain lawless.
And he's the marshal who's come to clean it up.
Yeah.
And I think that because of the setting, they had to try to sort of establish that he hadn't been, establish some sort of motivation for all this to happen. Mm-hmm. Because in High Noon, it's an established town. He's been there for a long time, and they make it clear that he's been there for a long time. So he's had a history with the town, right? Whereas with Outland, because they're these short one-year contracts, he he has to establish himself as a lawmaker, right? Right. He is truly a lawman, and is going to
actually the ending
enforce
with him,
the laws here.
Yeah, but with the ending of him leaving, it just leaves a power vacuum. You know, a new guy's going to take over as marshal, and there's going to be somebody else
going back down there.
Somebody else can come in and bring the drugs back in because he's left.
And these are methamphetamines. People are not going to be able to like kick this without anything happening.
Yeah. Although we can assume
this
that
whole mine can go down.
Yeah, we can assume that maybe like the shit hitting the fan was major. Like this is a corporation, and this can all go now public, right?
Yeah.
So that can institute some real change, but we never get to see that. And maybe an off-scene narrative or something in the closing before the credits roll of what happens next might have given us a little bit more closure there.
And see, with this, like, I mean, I'm more angry. Like, the people who aren't helping in Outland, I get it. They're like, yeah, I want to be in a place where I can just do horrible crap because I can. And then High Noon, where there's a sense of despair I find in that, where people are just lazy and they're like, oh, everything's good now. I don't have to do anything. And I just get to be a coward. Even though, like, I will put in no effort to keep this thing running.
That's for some people. Like, everybody's got a different motivation as to why they don't want to help. But at the end of the day,
they don't want to.
Yeah, it's a case of, well, I don't want to risk risking my health.
But for a large group
I'm the
of them,
provider of my family or whatever, but a large portion of them just don't care.
Yeah, only two of them are like, I could die, but the rest of them, well, it's not my job. Yeah. It's not my job.
And in Outland, really, it's no skin off their nose if this marshal dies.
Oh, yeah.
They don't know him. There'll be another one.
It's even in their best interests if he dies, because then they still get their drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really a no-win situation for him, and it really was just to prove something to himself. And he's like, fuck that, no job's worth this, and go be with his family.
And in High Noon, it was about helping people who really probably didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, to a certain extent, Outland was as well, right? I mean, because these drugs were killing people.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that was part of his motivation, is like, you know what? If they weren't killing people, I probably would have let it go.
Oh, for sure.
But you've had 50 deaths in a year.
And it went up from 2. That's the amazing thing.
Yeah, it's quite a bit.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I think there was sort of a certain amount of that motivation in there. Is like, yeah, what this is doing is hurting people, and it needs to stop. Right?
And by the only way doing that is getting the proof and making it public. And they should have said something about making it public.
Yeah.
Bring it that to light, because that's an embarrassment on the corporation, and they have to institute stricter rules and regulations in their colonies.
And the other thing too is, and they make that very clear at the beginning, is these marshals are not government employees. They are federal marshals. Right? They are actual government.
Well, when he's communicating with that other marshal friend of his, about where the drugs are coming from, I think that's also part of where this is going to become public, because at least now somebody outside of that particular installation is aware of the drug problem. They even know where the drugs are. They just, but they're part of that. We've got to catch the guys to make it stick.
Which is the same in any type of law enforcement.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have proof before you can prosecute.
They can't outright stop the smuggling.
Okay, well, that was Outland and High Noon.
Before we do, I found the name of the special effects. Oh,
yes.
This is important.
Yes, I can't believe you haven't mentioned it yet.
Because the conversation was flowing really nicely, I wanted to wait until there was...
Okay, so our special effects guy that was responsible for people exploding in space...
a gentleman by the name of John Steers. I think he may have come up in the past on here, but because I really want to just bring this up, because he's done a lot. He's worked with Sean Connery a lot. He did most of the early Bond films.
Ooh.
He also did... he was the special effects consultant for FX. But the interesting one here is he was also... Big surprise, on Star Wars. And he was also responsible for the...
Who wasn't?
Yes. He was responsible for the design of the lightsabers.
Oh, cool.
C-3PO and R2-D2.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was important to mention him, because he specifically was responsible for 3 of the most iconic things from the Star Wars universe.
Wow.
Okay, I owe you a geek credit.
I know. And now knowing all of that, I'm like, still, shotguns in space.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I'm even madder about that.
And actually, that was part of what it's like, really, you invented
the damn lightsaber.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, ah!
Yeah. Well, I think George Lucas actually invented the lightsabers, but John Steers was responsible.
But with an opening like that, he would have had the thought of like, okay, this is space. Something has to be different than just a regular shotgun.
Yes.
Well, it seemed like they deliberately were grounding it in something a plausible reality.
Yeah.
Like, is functional. This is what a mine would look like on Earth, so this is what it's going to look like here. And what do we need this to look like if it existed?
Yeah.
But that's when the plausibility goes away, because they're like, well, this has got to be a contained environment, so our plausible thing is to use a thing that could really just wreck the whole thing.
Yeah, but they were thinking here and now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't thinking, what does the future look like? Just what would that look like today?
But it's not even that. Like, even in the 60s, they knew what being out in space was, and if you breach a hull, what's going to happen?
Oh, we talked about that. I still
know.
I still think if you're in the middle of a building, you're fine.
Yeah.
I know.
No, I mean, I think Jay's right. There are certain areas where it would have been okay.
I'm sure they were, they're cops and the professionals, and they should know their buildings. So where it's safe and where it's not safe.
I know, but a weapon that's only useful.
That was only useful in certain spaces.
Why
that's
they
the
didn't?
dumbest thing.
No, yeah, why they didn't? Although I get maybe the tasers where everything's made of metal. That maybe that might not have been a good thing either.
No.
Yeah. No, that's true. But, I mean, we're picking apart something which is a mediocre to fun movie.
Yeah.
Right? In comparison to a great movie like High Noon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. Not a terrible movie. It was certainly enjoyable. I enjoyed both movies, but watching High Noon was a sheer pleasure. I didn't expect to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. I knew I was going to like it, but I really liked it.
Yeah, no, it was really, really enjoyable.
Yeah.
It made me think there's now the dying art, like in the 50s there were so many westerns, now the dying art of most actors knowing how to drive a wagon.
Yeah.
I'm guessing a lot of people knew how to do that back then.
Well, a little closer to the era.
You just learned it. Yeah, like most people, you want to be in any movie, you got to learn how to drive a wagon.
Yeah, or ride a horse, yeah.
Ride a horse. Yeah, that was when westerns were a huge thing, so... All right, well, like I said, that was High Noon and Outland. This was a fun one for us to do. Was this our first Western?
I think so,
yes. I think it may have been our first Western. So
because we discussed Westerns, but we couldn't, because the Westerns are generally remade as something else.
Yes, repackaged into something else.
Or they're remakes something else, as with the Kurosawa films.
Into a Western.
Into a Western, yeah.
Yes. And that has been a request of ours at one point to do one of the Kurosawas that's been remade. And I keep telling them, like, well, we'll do it, but that's a toughie because once you start dealing with that one, because there's one in particular that's been done 3 times. So, it's a lot of movies for us to watch in a week. So...
As we found out.
In research, as we did 4 in our...
I Am Legend.
Yes.
We were legendary for getting through all those movies in time.
That was insane.
Yeah, I'm not sorry I missed that.
We didn't think it through.
No, we were still finding our feet then. Fucking marathon, as this one has turned out to be as well. So, hey, if you got some westerns you think might be good to be remade, or something that has been remade as a request, let us know on our social media at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion of the Remake on Facebook, and Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com. We are now on YouTube.
Yes.
If you're listening to us on YouTube, you're not getting the full version. There are some cuts being made for YouTube and their stringent rules. So you may not be getting the intro and outro music. Some episodes may not be there at all. Because
you're getting Invasion Light.
You're getting Invasion Light.
I can't believe it's not Invasion.
If you want the full Invasion experience, go to iTunes, download us there, Stitcher, Google Play Music. We're all over the place. Player FM, TuneIn Radio, Audio Boom. Lots of places you can find us. Subscribe. Leave us 5 stars. Write us a review, especially on iTunes. If we get those reviews, we rise up on the charts, and it helps us out immensely because more people get to see the podcast.
Yes.
So please do that. And if you see us post on our social media, please share it with your friends. And of course, like, share, subscribe. It's a mantra.
Exactly. Be more helpful than the people of the town in High Noon.
Yes.
Yes. Don't leave us high and dry.
We're the Marshall Kane. We need your help.
Be our posse.
That's right. And if you guys are wondering what the hell I've been running the last couple of weeks, there's a Kickstarter called Sharkosaurus. It's Spencer Estabrooks and drawn by Tyler Jenkins, better known from Peter Panzerfaust, the Image comic. Their cutoff is July 27th, which is probably tomorrow after this podcast airs. It's your last day to get in on that. You can get a kill scene, you can get original artwork, and of course the graphic novel when it's released. Lots of great stretch goals, so go check that out on Kickstarter. And we got one more trailer here for that before we go. So with that, I'm Jason.
I'm Sam.
I'm Trish.
And we are out of here.
Bye-bye.
Spencer Estimates, writer-director Sharkosaurus. What's Sharkosaurus? Imagine Tremors meets Jaws. But he just eats paleontologists and creationists. I made the short film Sharkosaurus, and it traveled all over the world. I want to write a story as big as my imagination. That's why I've turned to veteran illustrator Tyler Jenkins to make Sharkosaurus a graphic novel. The story, a classic retelling of Romeo and Juliet, except instead of Capulets and Montagues, you have creationists and paleontologists. Two star-crossed lovers trapped in a world that wants to tear them apart, and it all takes place at a creationist-themed golf course. When Sharkosaurus arrives, murder and mayhem ensues. We only need $20,000 to make a Sharkosaurus graphic novel succeed. And you should check out our stretch goals. Bumper stickers, alternative covers. Things are going to get awesome. Woohoo! But we need your help to succeed. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend. But you're going to want to be a part of this project, because Sharkosaurus is a truckload of awesome coming to you.